We begin today the Gemara on the bottom of Daf Mem Beis Amud Beis, where it says Ha Niche LeBeis Hillel. The Gemara here is discussing the halacha that it said Ein Shliach LeDvar Aveda. The concept of shlichus does not apply when you send someone to do an aveda. The person that did it is responsible, and not the mishalech, the sender. And the Gemara brought that we can't learn out from this exception that we find regarding me'ilah. By me'ilah, if you send someone to take something from hektish to be moil, and he went and bought it, so the shliach is the one that's not, again, the shliach is not moil, the mishalech is moil. So by a me'ilah, the halacha is that there is a shliach for a dvar aveda. So the Gemara says you can't learn from there because together with me'ilah, there's a second place where we find this, and that's shlichus yad. When you send someone to a shliach to go and touch an item that's a pekodin, that's a deposit by you that you're safeguarding for someone. So there as well, the halacha is that it's that the shliach that did it will now make the mishaleach responsible for any einus that happens with this. So therefore the Gemara says that this is shnei ksuvim habam ke'echad. But now this was all, the Gemara here brought a braise that says this halacha, and this is all Beis Hillel's opinion. According to Beis Shammai, when it comes to me'ilah, only if you yourself, the person that's keeping this thing, touches it, then the din of shlichus yad applies. Not if you send a shliach. So now the Gemara asks, Ha niche LeBeis Hillel. So what we said before, that you have me'ilah and shlichus yad. So these are two places where the Torah says it's an exception. It's shnei ksuvim, so you can't learn from there. So that's true according to Beis Hillel. El LeBeis Shammai, but according to Beis Shammai, the pasuk that was quoted here before regarding shlichus yad, it says, "Kol dvar pesha." Beis Shammai says that pasuk is not coming to teach that if you send a shliach, then this halacha will apply. The pasuk there is coming to teach that even if you had a thought to touch this person's item that's in your possession, that the halacha of shlichus yad applies. But there's no din of shlichus here. So if so, the question remains, Neilef minei. Let us learn out from me'ilah that just like by me'ilah we find that there is a shliach for dvar aveda, why can't that be a source for all of Torah to say the same thing? Answers the Gemara, mishum dahave me'ilah and tficha umechira, because besides me'ilah we find another place, and that is by the halacha of tficha and mechira. This is a person that stole an animal, and not only did he steal it, then he went and slaughtered it for himself, or he went and sold it to someone else. What's the halacha in such a case? You have to pay back not only for what you stole, but you have to pay back 4 or 5 times as much. So regarding this case, over here as well, the halacha is, even if someone else slaughtered it, or you sent someone else to sell it, you appointed a shliach, you're still responsible to pay this. And so therefore, me'ilah and tficha mechira are shnei ksuvim abam ke'echad. These are two psukim saying the same point. And the rule is, v'chol shnei ksuvim abam ke'echad ein melamden. If two psukim say the same point, you can't learn from there to the rest of Torah that the concept of shlichus should apply for an aveda. So the Gemara now brings the source of this. Me'ilah, where do I find by me'ilah? You send someone to go and buy something with the money of hektish, that the mishaleach is mayol, so hadamara. The source for that was brought already before on Daf Mem Beis. Tficha umechira mahi. What's the source when you have someone else slaughter or sell an animal that you sold, that you now become responsible? There is a shlichus here. What's the source for this? O makra, because the pasuk says, v'tavchay oy machray. You slaughtered it or you sold it. Now we compare the two. Ma mechire al yidei acher. Just like when you sell, you're selling it through someone else, to someone else, that is. So when you sell it to someone else, the lekeach is the one that makes the kinyan. When you make a transaction with an animal, who's the one that does the act of the kinyan? The buyer. He's the one that does the meshicha and takes it into his possession. So in such a case, the ganev that's selling it and the other person, the buyer, is doing the act, nevertheless, the ganev himself becomes responsible to pay now 4 or 5 times as much. So too, when it comes to slaughtering, even if you didn't do it yourself, if you sent someone else to do the act of the slaughtering of this animal, the one that sent him, the ganev, will be responsible to pay 4 or 5 times. So here we see the concept of shlichus regarding tficha and mechira. That's one source. The Gemara brings another opinion, the Beis Rabbi Shmuel Tana. He learned and he taught another source. When it says in the pasuk, this halacha, it says, oy. It says, as we just had the pasuk, tvachay oy mechare. So that extra word of oy, l'rabbi is shliach. It's coming to say that even if it was done through a shliach, you're also responsible. The Bechizkiya Tana, and by Chizkiya they brought another source. Tachas. It says in the pasuk Tachas. Now it says this. There's an extra time where it says this because there, when it talks about the payment, it says Chamisha Bakar Yishalem Tachas Hashoir V'Arba Tzayin Tachas Haseh. So it says twice the word Tachas in the pasuk that you pay instead of what you did 4 or 5 times as much. That extra word is L'Rabes as a Shliach, comes to say even if you did it through a Shliach. Now the Gemara asks on this rule here. So now this is all true according to the opinion that says that when you have 2 psukim, the Torah repeats something twice, you can't learn from there to anywhere else. So therefore we now know that if the Torah said this concept, that there's a shliach for a dvar aveda in these 2 places, you can't learn to anywhere else. But there is an opinion that says that when the Torah repeats something, you can still use this as a source to learn for other places. So what are we going to say? Shouldn't we learn from here that in all of Torah, the din of shlichus should apply, even if it's for a dvar aveda? It says the Gemara, Golit Rachmana B'shchutei chutz. There's a clear pasuk where the Torah says when it comes to the iser of shechting a behema outside, a behema that's supposed to be shechted for a carbon in the Beis HaMikdash, and you shecht it outside. So over there, it clearly says in the Torah that if it's done through a shliach, that there's no iser, because the pasuk says Dam Yechoshev Leish Hahu. That this is like the person that did this spilled blood. So here the pasuk says leishahu dam shafach hu v'lo shluchai. That's only if the person did it himself, a carbon that he's supposed to bring, and he went and brought it outside the Beis HaMikdash, but not if he sent a shliach to go and do it in his place, he won't be responsible. There's no din of shlichus regarding an aveda. So here there's a clear pasuk that's saying this idea. Ashkechan, says the Gemara, so I find this rule here in this pasuk, Gabishchutei chutz, here by this isser of shechting outside the Beis HaMikdash, that it says that it's only if you did it yourself, not if you send someone else. How do I know that this same rule applies in all of Torah, that there's no shliach for an aveda? Answers the Gemara, well, the yalef mishchutei chutz, we learn from here. If over here the Torah says there's no shliach for a dvar aveda, so we apply the same for any other aveda. So the Gemara asks on this, ad yalef mishchutei chutz, you're learning out from here, from shchutei chutz, to create a source, a rule for all the Torah that there's no shliach for a dvar aveda, neilef mahanach. Why don't we learn out from the other psukim, where we find that the Torah says the opposite, by me'ila and by tvicha, or by me'ila and shlichus yad, where there the Torah says that there is a shliach for a dvar aveda. Why shouldn't we learn out from there to say that there is a shliach for all of Torah? Because this is according to the opinion that says you could learn even from 2 psukim. So you could learn from here. Answers the Gemara, there's actually another extra thing that it says here. Hoda kosav rachmana. Here, regarding this aveda of shchutei chutz, the Torah writes again afterwards, v'nichras ha'ish hahu, that this person will get kodesh for shechting outside the Beis HaMikdash. So it says ha'ish hahu, this person. Im eine inyan legufay, if the fact that the Torah emphasizes that it's only him, I don't need it to teach it for this itself, for the shchutei chutz itself, because we already have a pasuk before that says le'ish hahu. What we learn from here is that only over here do we say that, again, this is a source to say from here that in all of Torah, just like by shchutei chutz, the halacha is that there's no shliach for a dvar aveda, so too for the rest of Torah, there's no shliach for a dvar aveda. Says the Gemara, so this was all to explain the opinion that says that when you have 2 psukim that say the same thing, you could still learn out from there. But now, according to the opinion that says shnei ksuvim abom ke'echad ein melamden, that when you have 2 psukim, so then I can't learn out there from there to the rest of Torah. So if so, the fact that I have me'ila and tvicha that both say that there's a shliach for a dvar aveda, I can't learn out from there to the rest of Torah. And Adarabba, Rashi here brings the svara that the Gemara said before. Why is there no shlichus for a dvar aveda? Because it's a svara. Divrei Rav, Divrei Atam, Divrei Mishaymin. If I tell you to go and do an aveda, and the person himself knows that the Eibishter says not to do, it's his responsibility to listen to the Eibishter. You can't blame the Mishaleach for telling him to do this. So if so, Hani Hahu my Darish Bahu. So according to him, you don't need over here the psukim, the 2 extra hahus by shchutei chutz to teach me this concept that there's no shliach for a dvar aveda. So what does you learn out from these 2 extra hahus over here? So the Gemara explains, Chad lemu'utei. One is to exclude the following scenario: Shnayim sha'oichzim b'sakin v'sheichten. That the iser of shchutei chutz only applies when a person does it himself, As the pasuk is saying, Dam yachashav lishahu, only for one person. But what's if two people did this together? Two people held a knife and shechted the carbon outside the Beis Hamikdash together. So then the Isser that doesn't apply, or the carbon chatos, or the kares. Different opinions about this, whether the chi of chatos will not apply if it was done b'shegig, or the kares will not apply. Now, v'chadhu, and another case, the second time where it says here the word hu, what is it coming to teach? V'loi onus. Hu means that if the person is in his full state of mind, not if he's being forced to do so. And hu also means v'loi shegig, not if it was done by mistake, if he didn't realize where he was. Or hu v'loi muta, hu if it was done by mistake. That's what it's coming to teach. There's a discussion also about this in Mefarshim, because the concept usually, when a person does something by an einus, by force, it's obvious that he's pater. So over here, the Gemara is bringing a separate source regarding shchutei chutz, that if it's an einus, he'll be pater. Why can't you learn it out from what we know? You learn out from all the Torah that the einus is pater. Okay, so now the Gemara is saying that according to this opinion, the words hahu over here comes to teach me these new halachas here, these details regarding the halacha of shchutei chutz. Now the Gemara explains v'edach, the other opinion that we said before that learns from the hu, twice when it says hahu, he learns from there to tell you the halacha that there's no shliach for a dvar aveda, not for shchutei chutz itself, and not for all other avedas. So from where does he know these new halachas that we just taught now? Answers the Gemara, mihu, hahu. Because in both of the times that the Torah writes the word hahu with an extra hey, it could have just written dam yachashiv leishhu, or it could have said afterwards regarding v'nichras ha'ishhu. It says hahu both times, so we also have an extra hey here to teach me these new halachas as well. The Gemara says now v'idach, the other opinion, hu hahu leidarish. The extra hey of this word he doesn't darshan, he considers it to be just the way the Torah writes, and it's not considered to be extra to darshan. Okay. Now the Gemara brings in another case where we seemingly find that there is a concept of a shliach for a dvar aveda. Says the Gemara, this that we learn, person goes and tells someone, go and kill that individual. He basically appoints a hitman to go and kill someone. So who's going to be chayiv in this? So who chayiv? So the person that went and did this act, he's going to be responsible himself, but v'shelchav pater. And the one that appointed him, the mishaleach, he'll be pater. Like we said till here, the halacha of ein shliach l'dvar aveda. But Shamei Hazaken Omer. However, Shamei Hazaken said, Mishum Chagi Hanavi, that we could learn out from what the pasuk says, what Chagi Hanavi tells David HaMelech, as we'll see in the pasuk, that Shelchav Chayev, that the person that sent a hitman, the Mishaleach, will be Chayev for this. Shanema, we learn this from what the pasuk says, that Chagi Hanavi tells David HaMelech, Oisai Harakta Becherev B'nei Amin, that you killed, and this is referring to David HaMelech that had Uriah HaChiti killed. And so he tells him that you killed him with the sword of Bnei Ammon. Now David HaMelech himself did not kill him. He sent someone else to go and kill him. But he's blaming David HaMelech himself for this. So the fact that David HaMelech is getting blamed for this, so we see that when a person sends a hitman, the Mishaleach, the one that sent, is responsible. So the Gemara now says, my time with the Shamei Hazaken. What is the source of Shamei Hazaken to say that over here there is a shliach for a dvar aveda? So apparently the Gemara, at this point at least, holds that this pasuk that I just quoted here, Oisei Harakta, is not enough of a source. That's not the real source. The source over here is what it says, as the Gemara will bring over here now. Yeah, there's a source in Psukim and Torah, not just from what the Navi says. So the source is, Kasavar, Shamei Hazaken holds, Shnei Ksuv Mabam Ke'echad Melamdin. When you have two Psukim in the Torah that say the same thing, you could learn from there. Right, so therefore over here, you could learn from the two psukim that we brought before, whether it's Me'ila and Tviche, right, according to Beishameh, that's the psukim that I brought before that tell us the halacha that there is a shlichus for a dvar aveda. So we could learn from there. And v'hu hahu leidarish. And additionally, we had before the extra psukim that it said by shchutei chutz that teach me over there that there's no shliach for dvar aveda. Shamei Hazaken does not learn out from there that din. He learns out the other halachas we mentioned before, which is that two people that did it together are not going to be chayiv, or Einus is not going to be chayiv. And he doesn't learn the extra hey. So therefore, according to Shamei Hazaken, there is a shliach for a dvar aveda, not only here when it comes to appointing a hitman regarding the Isser of Ritziche, but regarding all avedas. Shamei Hazaken holds that there is a shliach for a dvar aveda. Or another pshat we can say for Shamei Azaken Lo'ilam Darish. Really, he does darshan the hu or hahu. He darshans to learn out from there that there is no shliach for Dvar Aveda, not by Shchutei Chutz, and not anywhere else in the Torah. What did it mean here in this brayso that we just quoted, that Shamei Azaken said that if you send a hitman, then the mishalech will be chayiv? Chayiv b'dinei shamayim. It meant that only b'dinei shamayim, from heaven, he'll be chayiv. Not here in the Bezdin, he'll be chayiv for this murder. So therefore, even Shamei Azaken really does hold that there's no shliach l'dvar aveda here in the Bezdin. Says the Gemara. Now, if that's the case, if that's what Shamei Azaken holds, Miklal, the Tanakam is sovar. So from this I understand that what does the Tanakam here hold? Afilim medina shamayim nami potter. That if a person appoints a hitman, so then the mishaleach, the sender, would be potter even medina shamayim. How could that be? If it's true, because he didn't do the act of the murder himself, he's going to be potter. But he sent someone else to go and do this. So medina shamayim, he's completely not responsible for this. He would be totally potter. Elo says the Gemara, the difference here between the Tanakama and Shamei Azaken is Dina Rabba v'Dina Zutta Ikebenayu. To what degree is this person judged from heaven? Is he judged with a Dina Rabba, meaning does heaven consider it as if he himself did the act of murder and he gets a punishment on that level? That's what Shamei Azaken held. And Dina Zutta means that he is responsible to some degree, but he's only a cause. He's a guided. He's pointed someone else. He didn't do it himself. So he's not going to be chayiv, even Medina Shemayim, to such an extent. A third pshat Gemara here says, Shani Hossam. When Shamei Azaken says that there is a shliach for a Dvar Aveda by this act of murder, that's different. There, because the Goli Rachmana. Over there's a pasuk that says, Oisei harakta b'cherev b'nei Yamain. That pasuk is the source, and we learn from there. From that pasuk, we understand that Ritzicha is an exception. That over here, the rule of En Shliach Dvar Aveda does not apply to it. But Shamei Azaken will agree that by all other Avedas, the rule of Ein Shliach L'Dvar Aveda still applies. This is an exception. Now, the Tanakam that disagrees with Shamei Azaken will tell you that pasuk is to be understood differently. What Chagei Anovi told David HaMelech is something else. He was telling him, Harei L'cha kecherev b'nei Yamain. What happened here? That you had Uriah HaChiti killed by a shliach. So this is as if it happened with a sword of Bnei Amin, which means Ma'cherev Bnei Amin einat tanan shalav. This is on the contrary. Chagei Anovi is telling David HaMelech that you're not responsible for this. Just like if it was the sword of Bnei Amin, of Goyim, that killed him, so David HaMelech would not be punished for this. Af Uriah HaChiti, so too when you had Uriah HaChiti killed, iyat tanan shalav, you will not be punished for what happened here. Why not? My time, Meired b'malchus hava. Because Uriah HaChiti rebelled against David HaMelech, and a Meired b'malchus is chayiv misa. So you're not going to be chayiv for this. The Ka'am Alei, where do we see there was a Meired b'malchus? Because when he spoke to David HaMelech, he said to David HaMelech, Va'adaini Yoyav, and my master Yoyav, v'chol avdei adaini, and all the servants of my master, apnei asad achainim. So talking to David HaMelech, which is the king, he refers to Yoyav as my master. That itself is the Merida b'malchus. That's Rashi's pshat here, and therefore he was chayiv misa for being Merid b'malchus. Taisus brings another pshat that he was Merid b'malchus because over there in the pasuk there was something David HaMelech told him to go and do, and he refused to listen to David HaMelech, so he was a Merid b'malchus. So therefore, Adarab over here, Chagi was telling David HaMelech that you're not responsible for this. Omar Rava said about this whole discussion here, what Shamei Azaken holds. Im tim tzaleima, if it's true that the pshat that we said before, that Sovar Shamei, that Shamei holds, Shnei ksuv mabam ke'echad melamdin. When you have two psukim in the Torah, that you could learn from there, that it becomes a rule for all of Torah. So we could learn from there that there's always a shliach for a Dvar Aveda as well. And also, v'hu hahu leidarish. And he does not darshan the word hu or hahu that it says by shchutei chutz to exclude this. So there is a shliach for every Dvar Aveda. And the mishaleach will always be responsible. But nevertheless, there's an exception to this as well. Maide, even Shamei Azaken will agree, if a person says to a shliach, go do an aveda, and the aveda is to go to be with someone that's forbidden, be of an erva which is aser. Or he goes and tells someone, go and do aveda to eat forbidden fats from an animal. Shuhu chayiv. In such a case, even Shamei Azaken would agree that the person that did the act of the Aveda is going to be chayiv for what he did, and the Mishaleach that sent him is going to be potter. Why? Because this is a different kind of Aveda. The person that's doing the Aveda is having his own personal benefit of this. We never find in Torah such a thing, that here, this individual, he's having hana himself of the Aveda, and v'zem is chayiv. And someone else, the person that sent him and told him to do this, should be responsible for it. If he is having the hana himself, it's not just an act that he's doing, but he's having hana. In such a case, even Shammai Azdakan would agree that the person himself that did the act of the Aveda would be chayiv. Huh? They should both be chayiv. Okay.
I think the sender should get something. I mean,
Okay. Maybe, but over here he's saying that. Well, actually, it says it clearly. Shehu chayev v'shochav pater. The one that sent him is totally pater. Yeah. Taisus actually here has a suffix about this because before the Gemara spoke about meila, when you send someone to use money of hektish. Over there, the halacha is that there is a shliach for a dvar aveda. Taisus here says, what happens if you send someone to use something from hektish and the person that's using something from hektish is having hana himself? So what would be the halacha there? Should you say over there that the person that had hana is chayev or the person that sent him is going to be chayev? Because by hektish, the rule is by meila, the one that sends is chayev. The mishalech is chayev. Taisus has a suffix about this and he doesn't resolve it. Sagt the Gemara weiter, another halacha, this is the final halacha here in the sugya of shlichus. Itmer, we learned the following argument. Rav Omar Rav said, shliach nasa eid. A person that sent as a shliach, let's say he's sent on a shlichus to go on for Kidushin, to be Mekadesh Isha. Rashi actually says also a shliach that's sent to return money of a loan. This shliach himself that's doing this shlichus for the Mishaleach, he could also be a witness to testify about what was done, about the Kidushin or about the money that was returned. The Beit Rab Shila Amri, but by Rab Shila they taught and said, no, ein shliach nasa eid. The shliach himself cannot be the aid, the witness to testify about this actor. So the Gemara explains, my time with the Beit Rab Shila, why did Rab Shila say that this shliach cannot also serve as a witness? If you're going to say the reason is, mishum delay amalei havli, because he didn't, the person that appointed him to be a shliach, to be mekadesh this isha, didn't also clearly appoint him to say that I want you to be a witness here. Says the Gemara, but is that true? Elamayata. If so, Kiddush isha b'fnei shnayim, by a regular case of a marriage, you mekadesh a woman in front of two edim. And you didn't appoint them, you didn't clearly tell them, I want you to be designated for witnesses. Are you going to say that if the Edom were not designated, then it wouldn't be a Kidushin? You don't have to designate the Edom. Just the fact that they're present and they witness what's going on, they can be Edom. So why should the Shliach that's doing this act not be able to be an Edom himself? Hello, the answer is as follows. The Gemara explains now both opinions, Rav and the Beit Rab Shila. Rav Omar Rav says, Shliach nasa Eid. The Shliach himself could also serve as a witness. There's no reason why not. On the contrary, it only makes the edus of what this person is doing even stronger. He himself is the shliach. He can testify about this not just as an observer, but he himself did the act. So he can testify much stronger about what happened. The Beit Rab Shila Amri, however, by Rab Shila they said, Ein shliach nasa eid. The shliach himself cannot serve as a witness because kiven Amar. Since it was taught, as we said before in the Gemara, this lashon, shluchai shel adam kemaisai, a shliach takes the place of the person that sent him. He's like the sender himself. So therefore, havalei kegufe, he becomes like the body of the sender himself. So a bal dover, a person that's saying edus, cannot say edus for himself. So therefore, the shliach is like the sender himself. So he can't say edus about this marriage here. So here on this Gemara, there's a hesber that the Rebbe brought a few times from Rav Yosef Engel. When it comes to shlichus, there's different ways how to understand the concept of shlichus. To what extent is the shliach representing the mishaleach? Is he just doing the act, and the act is like the mishaleach did it, but he and the mishaleach are still two different individuals? Or your hand becomes literally like an extension of the mishaleach. You are like the mishaleach himself, kegufa, like it says here. So therefore, you can't be an aid for this. That's what it seems like the discussion here in the Gemara is. Meisvei, so the Gemara asks over here on this, on Rav's opinion that says that a shliach can be an aid. So the Brisa says as follows: Omal l'shloisha. A person says to three people, "Tzu v'kitchuli isha, go and see to it, go marry me to this, be mekadesh me to this isha." So what happens? Echad shliach, one of them will be a shliach to do the act of the kiddushin, and shnayim, the other two, are eidim. They'll be witnesses for this. Divrei Beis Shammai. That's what Beis Shammai says. But Beis Hillel say, no, he didn't appoint any of them to be Eidim. He wants them all to be Shluchim. Kulam Shluchim Hein. They're all Shluchim to go and be Mekadesh as Isha for this person. The ein shliach nasa eid. And a shliach cannot also serve as a witness. That's the argument here. So the Gemara says, now, at kanle pligi ele b'shloisha. The argument over here was because the person appointed 3 people. So the question is, what was his intention? That they all 3 should serve as shluchim, or 1 should be a shliach and 2 as edim? Aval b'shnayim, if you sent 2 individuals to be mekadesh isha, divrei akoil, everybody would agree that one of these, the shliach cannot serve as an aid together with another person here that was sent to be an aid while he is a shliach. So here we clearly see both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that a shliach cannot be an aid at the same time. And says the Gemara, you're right, in this brayse it's clear, not like Rav said, but who, the Omar ki haytana. Rav is following a different brayse which quotes this argument in a different way. The Tanya, as we learned in the brayse, Rav Nosson says, Beis Shammai yoimrim, Beis Shammai say, shliach ve'eid echad. When you send a shliach, and you send 2 people to go be mekadesh isha, so there's a shliach and 1 aid, so together, they could combine together to testify about this Kidushin. So the shliach could serve as an aid. Beis Hillel says, shliach is shnei eidim. You're going to have a shliach and then separately another 2 eidim. You can't have the shliach himself be one of the eidim. Okay, so here you see, in this brayse, at least Beis Shammai holds that a shliach can serve as an aid. So this is the source of Rav. But the Gemara clarifies right away that Rav ki Beis Shammai. Does that mean that Rav here is paskening like Beis Shammai? The rule is we always pasken like Beis Hillel. It can't be that Rav's source is Beis Shammai. It says the Gemara, Eipach. We have to switch the opinions here in this brayse. So we're following this brayse, but it's Beis Hillel that said that the shliach himself could serve as an aid. Now going back to the original argument here between Rav and the Beit of Shile, so he learned the opinions in the opposite. Rav Omar, it was Rav that said that ein shliach nasa aid, that a shliach could not serve as a witness. And the Rav Shila Omri, it was by Rav Shila that they said that shliach nasa aid, that a shliach could be a witness. And the Hilchase, the halacha is shliach nasa aid, that a shliach can be an aid, even though shluchish ladim kamaisa, he still could serve as a witness. I think the Rebbe brings on this the halacha regarding shlichus, that as strong as the connection is between a shliach and the mishaleach, and it's mamish kamaisai, but nevertheless, he's not mamish like the body of the mishaleach himself. For haraya, when it comes to a mitzvah shebegufay, there are certain mitzvahs that lies upon the body of the person himself to do, so a shliach can't do it for you, like tefillin, shayfer, sitting in the sukkah, most of the mitzvahs that you have to hear and do yourself. Right, so over here as well, when it comes to being an aid, in the end of the day, he is not the Mishaleach himself, and therefore the halacha is, no matter what level of shlichus there is, he can still serve as a witness. Sagt the Gemara, Amar Rav Nachman. Rav is said in the name of Nachman. Amar l'shnayim. Person says to 2 people, Tzu'u v'kitcheli isha, go and be mekadesh for me a woman. Hey, nein shluchav. So they are as shluchim for this, and heinen edav. They could also serve as the edim as well, as we just concluded that the shliach himself could be an eid. V'chein begedishin, same as the halacha. If you send a get for a person sends a get for his wife through 2 people, so they are the shluchim to give her the get, and they are also the shluchim to they are also the edim. V'chein b'dinei mamanis, and the same also applies by money matters. If a person sends money for a loan to pay back to the lender, 2 people, so they are the shluchim to give back the loan, and they also could serve as witnesses for what happened here, that the money was returned. So the Gemara now explains why, when Rav said this halacha, did he spell out this concept, that a shliach could serve as an aid as well, regarding all 3 scenarios, Kidushin, Gedushin, and money. Tzriche, so you have to spell out all 3. If we would only say the halacha regarding Kidushin, that the shliach could serve as an aid, I would say the reason is mishum de lemeisra ka'asi, because in this case, the shluchim here are coming to be mekadesh anisha, which would mean now that she would become aser to the entire world, and on them as well, she would become a kadeshes to this man. So there's no reason to think, to be chayshish, that they would testify as a lie to say that she's actually mikadeshes. What gain do they have of testifying such a thing? All they're doing is saying that she's now aser upon them. So therefore over here, the shliach could be an aid. Avol Gedushin. But maybe if they're being sent as shluchim to divorce her, neichesh, shouldn't we be concerned? We're on the next amud, on the neichesh, we should be concerned, shema einov nasamba, that possibly they did not actually divorce her properly, but they want to marry her. So therefore, they're testifying even though they didn't fulfill the shlichus to divorce her. So over here, there is room to be concerned that the shliach himself cannot be an aid. V'yashmin and Kidushin, and if we would say the halacha regarding divorce, that the shliach could serve as an aid, and here the two shluchim that is, can serve as two aidim, mishum de itze lebeitrei lechazia. That's because a woman cannot be married to two people. So since these are two aidim here that are testifying that she was divorced, so they're not going to lie about this. Aval memayne. But if they're being sent to return money, maybe we should say what happened over here. Hani miflik palgi. Maybe they took the money for themselves and they're splitting the money between themselves. They never paid back the loan, and they're just testifying that they paid back the loan. So maybe they shouldn't be trusted. Tzrichi. So therefore, Rav taught the halacha that the shliach, or here two shluchim, can serve as eidim as well in all these cases, including by money matters. Okay, so now the Gemara here will go off on a sort of a side topic to explain what's the reason that you require witnesses when you're returning money for a loan. Okay, so it says Gemara, there's no shtar over here. This is just a loan where a person borrowed money and he's returning the money now. So the question is, my kasovar. What does Rav Nachman, who said over here this halacha? Was it Rav or was it Rav Nachman? Second. Manalef here. Rav said it in the name of Rav Nachman. Okay, so now what does he hold about this? If his opinion is Hamal v'chaveiroi be'edim, that if you lend money to your friend with witnesses present there, right? So that's what this case would be here. Not with the shtar, but you lend someone money, and there are edim that are there that know that you lent the money. So if the halacha is that tzarich lepoiroi be'edim, that you must, any money that you give out, when you pay it up, you're only trusted to say that you paid up that money with edim. Just like when you lent it, it was lent with edim. So too, you cannot say that I paid it back unless you have edim that you paid it up. So if so, what did he say over here? That these shluchim that you sent to deliver the money of the loan, to pay up the money of the loan, that they are believed, they're shluchim, and at the same time they could serve as edim that they gave that money. But how could they be believed? Hani neigim beidus ninu. They are negei beidus. This is something that they're saying edus and they're saving themselves. They're saying edus about themselves in this case. Why is that? Because the amri loy perane, if they would say that they did not pay up, they didn't actually pay this money for the loan to this lender, so amaluhu paruni. So then the sender, the loiva, the borrower that sent the money with them would say, so give me back the money. Where's the money? So when they're saying that they paid him up, so the reason that they're saying this, they're saying it to save their own skin. And the reason is because Rashi here explains when the sender, the loiva, gave them the money to deliver the loan to pay back, he gave them the money, he gave them the money in front of Adam as well. So if they would want to come and say that we paid him, or so then they have to have Adam to say that they paid him. Or if they would want to say that no, we didn't pay him, but we gave you back the money. We didn't fulfill our shlichus, we returned the money for you. They would have to have Adam for such a thing. So in order for them to save their own skin, that they shouldn't have to bring Adam, that they return the money to the sender, so they're saying now Eidos that they gave the money to the lender that they were sent to give the money to. So the Eidos that they're saying is relevant for themselves. So how should they be believed as Eidim to say that they pay the money to the Malva that they were sent to give it to? Ella says the Gemara, La'olam, really, Kasavar, Rav Nachman holds, Hamalva es Chavere Beidim, when you lend money to someone, even if it was done in front of Eidim, but Ein Sarach L'Payre Beidim. When you pay up the loan, you don't have to have witnesses that will prove that you paid it up. You can come and say, I paid up the loan, and you'll be believed without witnesses. All right, so really over here, in this case, here this is what the Bach and the Rishonim add over here into the Gemara. Really over here, the person that sent the money to be paid, he could come and say, I paid you the money, and he'll be believed. Just by the taina itself. If he says, I know for a fact the money was paid to you, he'll be believed. But over here, though, that's not what happened. Over here, the borrower is saying, I'm not sure if the money was paid to you, but I can tell you that I sent shluchim to deliver the money to you. So now these shluchim, in this case, the edus that they would be saying, they're not negei edus. For themselves, it's not relevant what they're saying. Why not? Because umigu, the yochli lemeimar, ahadrinu leloive. These shluchim that was sent to deliver this money, if they want, they can say that they returned the money to the loive, to the person that sent the money with them. Why could they say that? Because again, we're going according to the opinion that if you get money with Adam and you return that money, you don't need Adam to prove that you returned the money. So they can very simply say, we returned the money to you, and that would be pater. So if they could say that, they're also believed to say that they pay the money to the malva. And this is amigo. Every time, if a person is believed to say that he gave them, over here, if they're believed to say that they gave the money back to the leva, they'll be believed to say that they delivered the money and they paid the malva. So therefore, in such a case, the edus that they're saying that they paid the money to the malva has no bearing on themselves. They're not saving their own skin with this, because since you don't have to pay up with edim, they can easily say, we just gave you back the money. So therefore, over here, when they say that they pay the money to the malva, their edus is believed. Okay, so that is the pshat in what Rav Nachman said. But now the Gemara continues and says, "V'hashtu the tikkun rabbanon shvuas heses." But now, though, that Chachamim instituted, and this is something that actually it's brought, Rav Nachman himself instituted this at a later time, in the time of the Gemara. So he instituted a shvu which is called shvuas heses. And shvuas heses is any time you deny any money that's being demanded of you, you have to make a shvua to back up your claim. Minat Torah, you only have to make a shvua in the case of a moed b'miktsas, if you're admitting part and you are denying part. But minat midrabanan here, in the time of the Gemara, Rav Nachman instituted that if you deny the money fully as well, you also have to make a shvua to back up your claim. So if so, these shluchim that got this money in their hands and they're supposed to deliver this money, if they would want to come and say that they deny having the money in their hands, and they're saying, we gave you back the money, we didn't deliver it, but we gave you back the money, would they be believed? No, they would have to make a shvuas heses. So if so, now that's the halacha, mishtabi hani edim the hivnele. So these edim that was sent to deliver the money to this lender, they are going to have to swear that the money is not in their hands. They're kaifer akel. They're saying that we gave the money, but they have to make a shvuah for that. They're going to have to swear that they gave the money. Umishtaba malva, and then the malva, the lender, that the money was paid to him, and he claims that he never got the money was not paid to him, so he is going to swear deloy shakale, that he didn't get any of this money. And now what's going to happen is uparale loive lamalve. And now the loive, the borrower that sent this money, he's going to have to go and pay the malve, because the malve swears that he never got the money. Ashi here brings from the Gemara in Shavuos that this is a halacha known as chenveni al pinkosei. When you have such a kind of situation where you have a middleman that was appointed to deliver money or to pay up money, and now this becomes an argument over here. He says, well, I did my shlichus, I gave the money, and the people that were supposed to receive the money say, no, we never got the money. So each one is going to swear that he's going to swear that he gave the money, and the person that was supposed to get the money swears, I never got it. Now the person that is supposed to pay the money, he doesn't know. He has no idea, because he sent with a shliach. So now each one of them that are arguing body, they know for a fact, he says I gave it, he says I didn't give it. Each one of them is going to swear that he's going to swear that he did what he's supposed to do, and the one that was supposed to receive the money swears I never got it. And now this person that doesn't know, he's going to have to give out the money again, because he has no idea what happens. So he's going to have to go and pay again. And that's what's going to be the halacha over here. This is when he sent shluchim and he doesn't know what happened over here. Okay, so it comes out from the Gemara, there's a big risk sending a payment of a loan with shluchim, because then if they claim that they did it and the person that is supposed to receive it claims, I never received it, you're going to have to end up paying again, because you have no knowledge about this. You're shema, you have no idea.
Only according to they only have eight. If you need eight, then you have eight.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. Okay. This is a conclusion over here of the sugya of shlichus. Now the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah, which said the halacha of a father marrying off his daughter. It said in the Mishnah, ish mekadesh es bitay, that a father could marry off his daughter. So in connection to this, the Gemara brings a Mishnah that we had in Masechta Gittin. Tanan asam, it says in the Mishnah Masechta Gittin, naira hama irasa, a naira that's still in the father's possession, because up until the age of a begeres, she's in the father's possession. So she's ma'irasa. She got married, only the first stage of marriage. So she doesn't fully leave the father's possession. Now, hiva avia, she herself or her father, mekablan es gita. If her husband wants to divorce her, so now who receives the get for her? She could receive her own get in her hands, or the father could receive the get into his hands. When she gets divorced, she goes back to the father's possession. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says, no, ein shtei yadayim zeiches ke'echad. You can't have two different hands, the hand of the woman herself and the hand of the father, that have the ability to be zeich and a get for her. Ella avia mekabel es gita. The father is the one that receives the get for her, and that's it. V'chol she'ein yechayla lishmer es gita, If she herself cannot, if she's not, doesn't have enough das to guard her own get, and Yechayil is garish. So then she can't be divorced at all. And this is because of a different halacha. The Gemara says in Gittin that a shaita or someone that's on that level that doesn't understand what happens when they're divorced, mishalcha v'chezeres, even after you send them away, they come back to their husband. You can't fulfill what it says in the pasuk v'shulcha mi beisai, so they can't be divorced at all. So this is the machlokes regarding receiving a get after she was married, the first stage of marriage. The machlokes is Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda, who receives the get for her. So now this, Amar Reish Lakish, Kamachlokes Legedushin, just like there's an argument here regarding a naira receiving the get, whether she can receive the get or only her father could. So the same machlokes applies, Kach Machlokes LeKidushin. The same exact machlokes applies regarding Kidushin, whether only the father is the one that gets the money of Kidushin for the naira, or even she herself could get her money of Kidushin. We had this was a sugi also before in the beginning of the Masechta, Kidushin here, Daf Gimel. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan says, Machlokes Legedushin. The argument here is regarding divorce. Aval Kidushin, when it comes to marriage, Divrei Akayel, everybody agrees, Avia V'lohi. Only the father is the one that marries her off and receives the money of the Kidushin, and she cannot get her money of Kidushin. Everybody agrees to this, even the Tanakama agrees as well. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina explained, my time with the Rabbi Yochanan aliba de Rabbanon. What's the reason of Rabbi Yochanan according to the Rabbanon? Why is there a difference between Gedushin and Kiddushin? The Tanakama, the Rabbanon held, when it comes to Gedushin, both the girl herself or the father can receive her get. When it comes to Kiddushin, so Rabbi Yochanan says everybody agrees that only the father receives the money of the Kiddushin. What's the difference? So he explained, the reason is, Gedushin, the machneses atzmol reshusaviyah. When she gets divorced, so what's happening is she's leaving her husband and she's going back into her father's possession. So this is a gain for the father. So Beini Bein Aviyah. So she herself or her father could receive the get for her. The father is okay with her receiving this get because she's coming back to the father. He's not losing out from this, he's gaining from this. But Kiddushin, when it comes, however, to her being married, the mafkas atzma merishus aviyah. So here she's leaving the father's possession, going to the husband. So over here, the father does not want her to have the ability to receive her own kiddushin, to leave his possession. She's in her father's possession. So aviyah v'lohi, only the father could receive her kiddushin, but she cannot receive her own kiddushin. That's the reason for this distinction. That's the pshat the Gemara says at this point. The Gemara will continue this discussion and come with a different pshat here, as we'll see. Continuation on Daf Mem Dalet.